In this episode of the Leadership Hustle, we're going to talk about why your people don't tell you the truth. Hello, and welcome to the Leadership Hustle for executives whose companies are growing fast and need leaders who are ready. Hi there, and welcome to this episode of the Leadership Hustle. I'm Andrea Fredrickson, and I'm joined with my co-host, Michelle.
Hey.
So today is another episode on our path developing and talking about culture. We believe that culture is a byproduct of what leaders do and don't do. And so as we continue to support developing leaders in whatever stage they are in their journey, it's all to the end of how are they supporting the culture that is intentional as opposed to the drifted behaviors and the drifted culture that you're looking for. Today, I think about a story that I could say happens, I don't know if it's weekly, but it happens pretty frequently, where I might ask a CEO or an executive, it's like, the question is, so do your people challenge you? And look at me like, well, sometimes they're really difficult. I'm like, that's not my question. My question is, do they question you? Do they push back? Do they tell you what's going on? Oh, yeah. You know, they kind of like, wait a second. Do they really? Mm-hmm. Do they really question? And so that's our first question. So do you think your employees, the people that report to you, tell you everything? Tell you what you need to know?
Yeah, I like to think of that one where I ask the question more, tell me about how do your meetings flow? Like maybe we're talking about their meeting with their executive group or their team, their peers, right?
And maybe it's more important,
about that. What's that look like?
Do they tell you the truth? That may be, it's like they'll talk. Do they tell you the truth? Do they challenge you, right?
Yeah, do they disagree? Do they bring different ideas?
Mm-hmm. So,
or they just go along with what?
I've been invited to lots of senior executive teams. Like, hey, will you just come in and sit in our meetings? And we're doing that. And I'm a part of several. And one of the things that I often notice is when an executive says something that might be a bit controversial, what's the body language in the room, right? And so it's a little bit harder on Teams, but it still happens.
So you have to be paying attention to all the little boxes.
Well, you're paying attention to all the little boxes, but you're also watching who's texting.
Trying to watch it, yes.
Right? So let's say somebody says something controversial or says something that you know this is not going to land the way it could, or someone should be talking right now and they don't. So why do people just shut up? Like, why do they just not say something? Why do they, okay, boss, this is what it, they may not say those words, but they're just like, all right.
They just go along.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think at the core, you always have, do they feel safe? That psychological safety. Mm-hmm. Do they feel safe to speak up? I know you and I were just talking too about, because I find it really common when a leader in an organization, this is the problem that we're tackling right now, and this is what the problem is, this is how I think we should handle it. Once that leader's given them a solution, it makes it really hard for anyone to think differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't. Yeah, well, it sounds like they've already made up their mind. So now, do I want to put the energy? Is this the mountain I want to die on? I mean, there could be that one too, right? But no, in like mentally, internally, like for the people in the room, they can't unhear what he just said, and that sounds like a good idea. That it doesn't leave opportunity for people to be creative and to really think, because an idea's already been planted out there.
Right.
Unless it's something so obvious like, oh, that's bold, that's just not going to work, or that's not a good idea. That's then if they don't feel safe, they won't say that.
Right.
But I think just when you talk about having, getting people to bring ideas on how to solve something, as soon as you start talking about it, well, you know what you're doing. They believe that you know what you're doing. So that's probably a good idea. I hadn't thought about that maybe, so why not? And then their brain stops thinking. because they have a solution now. So now how do we, and again, it depends on personality. My personality is more like, okay, so then how do we get it done? You're like, well, I mean, I don't want to do it, but it's more of, okay, let's go, let's keep it moving, right? And so I think there's a bit of it can stop momentum.
Well, and literally 2 weeks ago, we were having a meeting and I said, I'm just about to do something I tell people not to do, which was, I said, here's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
And here's where I'm thinking we should go, but I am not married to this. And I really would like other perspectives. And you did. You were able to do that. But we've worked together, not only you and I, but everybody else in the office, we've worked together for, 10 years
And I'm not
plus.
saying that happens all the time, but it can happen.
It can happen.
Especially for the people who want to process more. It makes, I think, it even harder for them to process, because now that's an idea. They can't stop thinking about that idea. Right. So now you're having to think of an idea that counters that idea. Then is that idea better than that idea? If it's not, I'm not going to speak up either.
Well, and we're talking about if there are multiple people in one room.
Yes.
So
there could be individuals.
You might have a person who's leading the meeting and they are a fast thinker. They've had time to think through things. And so they talk really, really quickly and they process really, really quickly. And you've got people in the room that's like, wait a second, I need to think through this.
Correct.
And so we need to make sure that whoever is leading the conversation takes a beat and says, all right, think about this for a minute. What are the challenges that come up with this? What are the ideas that you have? Give them some time to think, because your DISC, CD, or CS personalities are going to need a little extra time. Not that D's and I's don't.
Because they want to really process
They want to process and not give something that's ridiculous.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. They want to make sure it sounds good before they say it.
Right.
So
this kind of leads to the question, so how do these silences, how do these not telling the truth, how do these not bringing forth information, how do these patterns start? One was just this example of, I talk too fast, I ask the question too fast, I
put too much information out too fast so people can't process.
I don't give them enough time to think and process. So there's one way where silences happen, but what are some other patterns that create these, well, they're not telling me?
Well, how you respond when people bring ideas, when people, and a lot of times, especially in the moment, and it's probably going to lean more into your IDDI for DISC style, for example, because they're going to lean into just saying what they're thinking and not processing it. Yeah, that thinking out loud. If you respond in a condescending way, you threaten their status, you make them look stupid, or it could feel like that, right?
Yep.
I better be damn sure I have a good idea before I speak up again.
Right. I mean, when a lot of our facial expressions in that.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times when those initial ideas come out, it's not about the idea that they're throwing out. It's about sparking other ideas, but it gets shut down based off of how that leader responds.
Right.
Or we've done that before. Okay, we have done that before. How did we do it before? What did we learn from it? But they don't a lot of times have the courage to speak up against that leader either. At times, I mean, it all depends on the relationship as we go here. But
I want you, this is kind of a sidebar, but when you ask a question, this is easiest when you call someone out, and it's actually fast when you do it on a Zoom call or a video call. Do you have any input on that? No, and then they continue.
Oh, right? Yeah. Do you have any input on that? Okay, let's go.
Right? And so there was, when an employee challenges us, most of us, our first response, the word that comes out of our mouth is no. And some of us will say no and then elaborate, and sometimes it's no, and that's it. But rarely do we say yes, or I love that, or challenge me more.
Because the leader hasn't processed it necessarily. They're just moving on at times.
Right.
And I believe at times too, you can see it, they're not listening. They're not listening with the intent to understand. They're listening with the intent to move it forward. Because they already have their mind made up.
They've already got their mind made up, and they're moving, and based upon their thinking style, am I an action person? Am I a result person? Am I an accurate person? Am I a collaborative person? Like whatever that style is of my leadership personality is going to show up in that conversation, unless you're intentionally stretching in what you're doing. There's also that leader who rewards harmony. So I don't want there to be any friction between folks, and so nothing gets said. Nothing happens. There's no, like, I don't want to know the truth. I do want to know the truth. I don't want to hear the truth.
Yeah.
Right? And so if it's like, don't make me feel uncomfortable. Or so if I don't let other people argue or debate in a healthy way, if I don't let that happen as a leader, people are going to pick up on the fact that don't rock my boat either.
Well, correct. It's like if you've got two employees that are disagreeing and having different perspectives, I call that a productive conversation.
Right.
Even though that productive conversation can look a little intense depending on the group, as they're working through emotions. I mean, you've got to have where's the level that we don't cross kind of thing, right? But if you don't let that happen a little bit, people won't. I'm not going to speak up because we probably have different opinions, and she's going to shut us down. Why?
So think about, I think about this in that the story about the emperor's new clothes. If you've heard of the fable, these new clothes, and he's walking through the streets naked because everybody's afraid to tell him the truth until this little boy is like, why are you not wearing clothes, right? It's like, because the little kid wasn't afraid to ask the question. And yet we have senior leaders who are experienced. They are knowledgeable. They've been promoted into roles of authority that will not say what needs to be said. And I can't blame the most senior leader 100% on this.
Oh no, it's a two-way. In some situations,
right?
For sure.
It's two-way. It's if you are a leader, you show up when you have to do the hard stuff. The hard stuff is sometimes you have to listen to something you don't want to hear, or you hear the truth that you don't like,
or you just don't think it's going to work.
Or you don't think it's going to work. But also as a leader, whether it's positional or behavior based, you have to do the thing that might be uncomfortable because it's the right thing to do. You don't have to be mean about something. You simply have to make sure that the truth is out there, because there is a high cost when truth is not discussed or information isn't brought forward that would be beneficial to a decision moving forward. And so let's talk a little bit about what are some of the costs. What are some of the fees, the prices to be paid when leaders will not say what needs to be said to others, or if you're not willing to? Either way, if you're not willing to speak up, or what's the price?
Well, I think the organization can become stagnant. It can be like just tunnel vision through the one leader at the high level, right? But I also believe as you go through change in an organization and changes are happening, if people at the front lines who's really impacted at times from the technical changes, right? If they're not bringing up, having the courage to speak up and say, this isn't working, or I'm nervous that if we do this, are we considering this? Or they see a problem, but they don't say it. I mean, that can be a complete, that can be a cost in trust, but a major financial cost,
right? Because
they don't feel they can speak up,
right?
So
we can lose clients.
Oh, well, that would be a ripple effect.
We've got every organization has customers. However you define them, you have some customer, and if you have customers that are not being serviced the way that they expect, and we're trying different things, or we're not, communicating, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, by the way, we lost another client, we lost another customer, we lost another, you name it. These are surprises. Like, there should not be a surprise. And so what are we doing to keep that information moving forward, and how are we keeping people in the loop, and is there something we can do about it so we can lose customers? And just like in almost every other podcast we've talked about, if we don't do something about this, we're going to lose our best people.
We very well could, yes.
Because our very best people, if they don't get to shine, if they don't
have a voice,
they're going to leave. But the flip side is, if you're not willing as a leader to speak up, you've lowered the standard of your business. So there's another price. So if you're not willing to hear it, there's a cost.
There's a huge cost, I think, to innovation.
And if you're not willing to say it, there's a cost. And so looking at both sides of that spectrum, employees may come from someplace where it wasn't tolerated to speak up or to tell the truth. It was punished. So they bring that baggage with them. And so what are we doing as that leader to build that psychological safety, build in the fact that where they came from is not the place they came?
Correct. It's not where it's different here.
Or recognize that maybe your own behavior
Is shutting them down.
Many leaders just want to participate, right? It's like, I want to be a part of the group. And yet their behavior, because they're elevated, has additional weight. And that weight carries with it consequences of whether or not people will continue to speak up. Because maybe your look of thinking is the same look as I disagree. And people interpret it as I disagree,
correct.
Not that I'm considering or thinking or processing.
Correct. Or they observe how you respond to someone else, and now I'm not going to speak up because I didn't like how you spoke to them.
We humans are the only organism on this earth that makes up stories, right? So if we don't know what the story is, we're going to make it up.
We're going to assume.
So if I see how you interacted with someone else, I don't know the whole context, but I'm going to fill in the blanks and make up the context.
Yes.
Like, so that was a bad situation. And you're like, oh no, that's just how we do this.
Correct. That's just how we do things. That's how
we went and had a beer afterwards.
Yes, they did. But they make their assumptions and walk off. And
right.
It's really looking at, it's the whole concept. I like to challenge people. It's like, leaders speak last. Like, let's put it out there, but let's put a platform out there where people can speak up. And also, but I think it's important too to give them time to process.
Yeah. Well, watch your facial expressions. I know that it's really difficult when you're sitting in a meeting. It's like, what am I?
Zoom is that is one benefit of Zoom. I have people tell me I hate looking at myself in Zoom, but it's like, well, pay attention, and if you record it, what are your facial expressions when someone says something? Because people are interpreting what our body language, our tone, they're interpreting that over the actual words you're saying. It's impacting that message.
And just because you're in a meeting where you can't see yourself doesn't mean that other people can't see you, right?
Yes.
And so going through this whole process of, why your employees, why your team doesn't tell you the truth or bring forth or challenge you, there's a cost to it. There's a price to it. But this is part of the culture you've created. This is a habit. This is a pattern. So the challenge for you with this episode is, what are the topics or what are the situations where your team softens things for you, where you feel like they should really be pushing on me?
They all agreed with me. They feel good though. They all agreed with me. This must be a great idea.
We're aligned. No, that's false harmony.
Yes.
And, we can talk about false harmony in another episode, but challenge yourself to look at, why are people not pushing you back? Put something out there that really they should push you back on and challenge you.
See what happens.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Leadership Hustle. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode.